Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuoki Kyoto Wins. We are on Harada Sanosuke's route. We're at the part where Ito is leaving. We got through a lot of the game in just the first video. So yeah, we're here already. And our first choice we gotta make is the soldiers. And we want to talk to someone close to the people who are leaving. And yes, I am staying for the tall, handsome man with mahogany-colored hair. This time, go find the others. And you don't even know anything! This time, I trust the Shinsengumi. August 1867. Is this another Zuisoroku scene? Yep, I believe it is. August 1867. The Shinsengumi were kicked out of Nishihonwaji Temple, and 2 months had passed since we moved our headquarters to Fudodo Village. It didn't take long for us to begin familiarizing ourselves with the new environment. Harada had been kind enough to allow me to watch some of the warriors train.
Alright, we're taking this up a notch. Go at it like you're trying to kill each other.
But then they might actually kill each other. His voice echoed through the dojo. All of the men were holding habiki. It gave their training an added intensity, which is far more than they would have been with a bamboo or wooden sword.
What? You don't know the trick to a counterattack? That's probably because you're just watching the other guy's sword, right? Doesn't matter who it is. Right before they attack, there's always a hint. Some kind of tell. It's always in how their sword moves, though.
He had an answer and advice for every man who came to him with a question. More importantly, though, his answers seemed to help. The men with him visibly improving.
Alright, that's it for today, boys. Time to clean up.
They set to work putting away their equipment as Harada made his way toward me, wiping sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand. Good job! Here's your towel.
Oh, thanks, Chizuru.
He took the towel from me with a smile and started mopping the sweat off his face and neck. You're a really good teacher.
Really? Well, I hope they think so.
I don't really know anything about fighting, but it was easy even for me to understand what you were talking about. Well, maybe you should try and join the lessons. Learn a little more self-defense. It feels kind of weird, though.
What? Weird how?
Oh, well, nothing. Never mind. I found myself strangely attracted to you. Well, merely it's not that strange.
Come on, you can't say something like that and then just leave me hanging. What were you going to say?
I regretted saying anything, but he had me cornered. Well, when we went to Shimbara, you said that you tried to kill yourself. I just don't see how the person I know could have done something like that. He was observant, kind, personable. In every meaningful way, he seemed to be a stable adult. Well, of course now he is. He's actually an adult. Undoubtedly, he had his reasons, but I couldn't reconcile the man I knew with someone who would have done that. We all change and grow up. Harada stopped wiping and looked up at the ceiling.
Exactly.
What?
When I was a kid, I was just another idiot with a short fuse. I've stumbled and fallen flat on my face plenty of times. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to make a mistake and do something you can't take back. I've pushed people away over stupid fights, and lost friends because of dumb things I said. The family and I aren't exactly on speaking terms these days, so I don't really have anywhere to go home to. Basically, I don't want to make those mistakes anymore.
Good, glad you got that all out of your system. He couldn't hide the regret in his voice. I understood, though. Harada was hurt many times by his own mistakes and misjudgments, but he learned from them. That was how he'd become the man he was.
So, what do you want to do? Want to head out?
What? Really? Can I? Can we go on a date?
Sure, why not? Nobody seriously thinks you might try and bone out anymore.
Not at this point. On our way to the gate, we spotted Yamazaki.
Hey, what's up? You leaving? Some of our fish and vegetables have spoiled. I'm going out to buy some more before dinner. Summer is making it very difficult to keep our food fresh. We can get that then. We're heading out anyway. But...
He looked around surreptitiously before fixing Harada with a penetrating stare.
Are you allowed to do that? Take her outside of the compound, I mean. Did the commander approve this? Come on, don't sweat the small stuff. She's supposed to make dinner tonight, so I figure why shouldn't she go pick out the ingredients?
Yamazaki had no further arguments that Harada was willing to listen to, so out we went. Don't tattle on us. The market was bustling with crowds out to get their dinner ingredients.
He said we need fish and vegetables, right? How about that turnip? It looks cheap. Think we should get it?
1 turnip? We're feeding an awful lot of men here, you know. Hold on. I stopped his hand midway to the turnip and picked through the bin until I found the best, or at least the least bruised specimens. Yes, these should be good. Let's get them. Harada laughed.
You've got a sharp eye. You'll make somebody a good wife someday.
Really? Hint, hint. Nudge, nudge. It took us another hour or so to gather the rest of the ingredients we needed.
Dang, we really got a lot, huh? For once, maybe some of the hungrier guys might actually fill up.
Yeah. Like Nagakara?
Your meals are really good. I'm stoked to have some of what you're making tonight.
Then suddenly he stopped. Are you okay? What's wrong?
Oh, nothing, I guess. Just realized I was kind of talking to you like you were some kind of servant or something.
No, I thought we were having a friendly chat.
Usually a girl only makes food for someone she likes, right? Sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. I mean, I like all of you anyway. I like eating with other people. I really like eating with all the guys. It's fun. I'm happy to put in the work. Back in Edo, I made food all the time, but the only people who ate it were me and my father. Harada relaxed visibly and smiled. No worries.
Huh. Well, that's good. I like a busy dinner table too. Even if the food's the same, it never tastes as good if you eat alone, you know?
Yes. We were still talking when... Huh? I stopped. Walking toward us was a face I recognized.
Oh.
Heisuke's eyes went wide as he recognized us, and he stopped in his tracks. I opened my mouth to say something to him, but... The Shinsengumi was forbidden to fraternize with the guardians of the Imperial Tomb, and that included Heisuke. Can't we at least say hi? For a long moment we looked at one another, Heisuke's mouth hanging open as if it were about to speak. Can we nod, at least? Something? But finally he shut it, set his jaw and turned sharply to disappear off into the crowd. I had assumed we would cross paths with him eventually. Although Kyoto was a large city, we traveled in similar circles, but... What I hadn't considered was how much it would hurt to see him and be forced to turn away. One look at Harada's face told me he felt the same. He looked smaller. Are you okay? When he spoke, I wasn't sure if it was to me or to himself.
Is everything I touch just doomed to fall apart?
What?
I keep hoping I'll meet with someone, and no matter what happens, we'll stick together, but does that kind of thing even exist?
There was a deep, resigned sadness to his words that startled me, but what he meant was clear. After what he told me in the dojo, I felt I understood what he meant all too well. He had made many mistakes in his life and driven people he cared for away. But despite all his work, Heisuke, whom he'd loved like a brother, had still left. Given the sort of man he was, though, he refused to show how much that had hurt him. At least, he had until now. I felt guilty just looking at him, as if I should say something, anything. But I couldn't find the words.
Well, ready to go home?
His voice was still full of melancholy darkness. Oh. Our walk back was nearly silent.
Hey, sorry about that. I got a little grim at the end there. Anyway, I'm heading back to my room. I'll let you get started on dinner.
You can cook with me, you know? He sounded like he always did, but I knew that even if he had managed to hide his grief again, it wasn't gone by any stretch. Harada, I looked straight at him. You can do it. You can find a bond that'll survive anything. In fact, there's one right here in front of you just waiting. His eyes widened. Maybe your path won't be the same as Saito's or Heisuke's, but you haven't really changed. You're all doing what you think you have to do. I knew there was an excellent chance I was trying to lecture him on something I knew nothing about. I wasn't one of them after all, but I had to say something. So, his expression shifted from surprise to realization, and then to something else. When he spoke, his voice was filled with emotion.
Thanks.
If my words could ease his pain, even a little, then that was all he needed. I watched him walk off, shoulders a little straighter, and let out a relieved sigh. At least we could offer him a little comfort. Again, the great motivational speaker that I am. Here I still wanted to help. And convince Heisuke, of course, so we can go with Sanosuke. And once again, try to negotiate with the demons. For this choice, I'll stay here. And we have made it to Chapter 5, December 1867. Kondo was shot on the right shoulder. The bullet pierced clean through him, shattering the bone, which required more treatment than I could have given him at the compounds. The Satsuma Choshu troops who gathered in Kyoto began fortifying their base within the imperial palace. It seemed to be a warning call to all, an assertive declaration that they believed themselves to be the true imperial troops. In response, shogunate forces began assembling their powers throughout the Toba Channel in Kyoto. The Fushimi magistrate as well were preparing for a war that could have come at any moment. A few days had passed since Kondo was shot, and the mood in the magistrate's office was tense. The warriors scrambled, spending day after day to identify who may have been the culprit.
I can't forgive those bastards. Let's throw them out of Kyoto.
I'd never seen them so angry, although it was certainly understandable. Every man in the Shinsengumi looked up to Kondo, and it was hard not to like him. Still, I felt uncomfortable. Oh, Harada.
Hey, Chizuru. Looks like it's not going to be a quiet New Year's, huh?
He was trying to act cheerful, but even I could see he was feeling down.
So, I heard you went to check up on Kondo, yeah? How's he doing? Yamazaki told me his right shoulder's all messed up.
Well, his wound isn't life-threatening, but the scar it left is going to be pretty deep. He may contract a high fever. From what I'd heard, Hijikata and Yamazaki are currently discussing what their next plan of action will be in the near future.
Gotcha. Geez, what bad luck for Kondo, especially now with everything going on.
I know. For the leader of a group of men like the Shinsengumi, Kondo was exceptionally kind. It hardly seemed fair that someone like that should be hurt so badly. I understood how the rest of the soldiers felt. Did they catch the shooter? Was it the Choshu?
Well, Shinpachi and his boys went out as soon as we heard that Kondo had been shot. They went over to the place where it happened with a fine-tooth comb, but they couldn't find anything. No witnesses either. I've got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, for a leader to get shot just as we're about to go to war.
No, that's not what I meant. I mean, I'm worried about that too, of course, but I just feel like something's up over here on our side. This just doesn't feel right.
What is it then?
And what are we fighting for exactly? The Choshu want to get revenge for the people we killed at Ikeda Inn and during the Hamagata Rebellion. But I've been thinking lately, what are we fighting for?
Well, aren't we all fighting for the shogunate?
Well, that's not wrong, I guess. I'm pretty sure Kondo's still trying to protect the shogunate. But I don't think this whole thing started just so we could fight the shogunate's wars.
You mean the Shinsengumi? I hadn't thought about it before, but I knew almost nothing about who the captains had been before they came to Kyoto, or why they'd come.
I might have told you before, but I tried to kill myself once, you know. I was still a kid, but I got into an argument with a samurai. Even these days I wouldn't say I got a long fuse. But back then, I was either fine or I was really pissed off. He said something to me and we kinda got into it. It ended with me opening up my stomach. I didn't die, though, fortunately. And that caused a lot of trouble. They pretty much kicked me out and they came to Edo. That was when I met Kono and Hijikata. Back then they were running this tiny dojo with barely enough students to get by.
Really? But they've killed so many Ronin. Okita especially was so good with his sword that it was hard to believe he was even human. I would have thought that a dojo full of powerful warriors would have flourished.
There were a lot of other famous dojos in Edo. So why would anyone want to learn a style that makes you look like a farmer with a hoe? But even though they're barely making ends meet, they let my broke ass stay in their house. Doesn't get more generous than that.
Letting your burnout friend crash on your couch all the time?
Ever since we showed up in Kyoto, the shogunate started giving us some stipends. So now we don't even have to worry about money. I mean, when the day's over, our job was to protect the safety of the town, right? We can now be proud of what we do. I remember being real happy about that.
Harada. I could see where he was coming from. For example, during the Ikeda incident, if the Shinsengumi men weren't there, then Kyoto would have been under flames and claimed many, many lives. They really look after the citizens of Kyoto. It was clear to see how much pride they had for their duties and for each other.
Now we're vassals of the shogun, and that means we gotta fight on his side. I get it, but it's not hard to get bummed on that.
If I wasn't mistaken, Harada was probably talking about Heisuke, whom he'd really thought of as a brother becoming a fury, which must have hurt. Official research performed on the water of life was mandated directly from the shogunate. I think Harada was wondering how long he could continue to support the shogunate, despite feeling opposed to their actions.
And after what happened to Kondo, go out there and avenge him. But we spent all this time protecting Kyoto. I don't want it to turn into a battlefield just so we can hash out who's better than who.
Harada. In his mind, there were no complicated rules regarding his relationship to the shogunate and imperial court. All he wanted was to be useful and for his friends to be happy. That was why he'd come to Kyoto in the first place, but now he found himself about to dive headfirst into a war that would tear apart the city he'd worked so hard to protect. Oh, I love this man so much. What could I possibly say to him? He seemed to guess what I was thinking and gave me a wry smile.
Man, it's not really like me though, to stress out and think about that kind of stuff. Oh, I think we should just kind of chill out about it.
Chill?
What's important now is I can be proud of myself. I can walk in the light without guilt. I wonder how many other people in the Shinsengumi can say the same.
How could I answer that? It's hard to say. I think it's hard to say. I mean, sure, we all had more fun before all of this started, but right now our country's in a tough spot. Trying to live in the past isn't really going to help anyone. And I knew that I wasn't actually considered a member of the Shinsengumi. I never risked my life to keep Kyoto safe like they all had. It was only coincidence that had brought me to them, and I was only alive and safe because they had protected me.
Sorry, guess that wasn't really a fair question. Forget I said anything, okay? I shouldn't really be talking to women about war anyway.
What? No, don't say that. Alright, this is my line, not Sanosuke's. Another wrong line attributed. True, I might not know very much about politics and war and all that stuff, but I'm always happy to listen. Maybe I can help that way.
That's not what I meant, idiot.
He grinned and ruffled my hair with a single huge hand.
I'm just saying, a girl like you shouldn't have to worry about stuff like this. The battlefield's no place for a woman. I mean, you're no warrior, and it's not like you joined us to die or anything anyway.
Harada's words seemed really curt, but in fact, they were kind and quite warm in person. It was gruff, but there was kindness in it, and the sincerity of his tone still made me happy.
Shouldn't you be free by now?
Free?
Well, you were only staying here because you wanted to find your father, right? We needed Koto's help back then. He's not really that important to us anymore. Sanen's got the research covered. And to be honest, we don't have the time or the men to go looking for Koto these days.
Again, Demons after me!
We kept you locked up because we were worried you might leak information about the Shinsengumi. But I don't think there's a guy here who believes you do that now.
Harada, he was saying things that I'd been thinking to myself for some time, but I wasn't quite sure how to respond. In the beginning, I had wanted desperately to leave, that was true. But now...
Well, if you want to go, just tell me, all right? I'll make sure you get to do what you want.
Will you sweep me off my feet and take me away on a white horse? Ah! He gave me a friendly smack on the back that I hadn't been expecting. It was quite powerful. Dude, know your strength. What was that?
Oh, sorry. Guess I hit you a little hard. Anyway, all I was saying was there's not really any reason for you to be stuck here forever.
Oh, well, thank you. Hey, as long as you're here, I'm gonna be here.
I'm gonna go check up on Kondo then. I wouldn't be too worried though. The guy's so tough they could probably shoot him with a cannon, and he'd walk away afterwards.
I don't know about that. Leave the Shinsengumi. I honestly hadn't even thought about it for a long time, but he was right. I wasn't one of them. I was an outsider. There wasn't any reason for me to stay, but if I left, where would I go? We still had no idea where my father was, and Sen and Kazuma had told me I was a demon. Could I really go back to my old life knowing that? On the other hand, Kazuma was still after me. If I stayed, he'd be back eventually. If you go, he'd be back eventually. And that would mean trouble. What was I going to do? It wasn't long after Kondo and Okita were both sent to Osaka Castle to recover. Kondo's gunshot wound was healing slowly, and he needed rest and frequent treatment. Okita was sent away in hopes that a change might help him recover from his illness, which had been discovered to be severe tuberculosis. I caught a glimpse of him as he left, and his face was frighteningly pale. As I watched him leave, I felt my heart sink. It made for a bleak start to the new year. We were busy preparing for war. We couldn't do much to celebrate the coming of the new year. I was cleaning in the common room.
Oh, Yukimura. Are you still awake at this hour?
Oh, Sanin. Did you have any business here? If you're going to use this room, I'll leave.
Oh, I don't mind. Rather, I think it's better that you're here for it.
Huh? His words perplexed me, so I felt a little anxious. Just then, the most prominent Shinsengumi captains began filing into the common room. Well, what were they about to discuss? My anxiety was starting to grow stronger.
Seems like everyone's here. So, what do you want from us? There's no telling when war will finally erupt, and for us to gather here right now, don't tell me. It is exactly as you're thinking. I ask you all to gather here today, with the intention of giving something to you.
Why are they changing this scene for his route? This has all been the same so far, I think. In his hands was an object wrapped in fine cloth that he slowly unwrapped before all of us. As I saw what was inside of his hands, I gasped and clasped my hands over my mouth.
The water of life.
Exactly. As captains of the Shinsengumi, we all took on the risks of researching this serum. As such, it is necessary for us to take responsibility for this experiment. Especially if, like Kondo, any one of you becomes injured or maimed to the point you cannot fight. Or, in the worst case, there is a possibility that your life is gravely threatened. I know for certain that the serum will be of use to you.
Sonnen, are you trying to experiment on us too now?
I'm just saying, under our current circumstances, we cannot afford to lose any more captains.
Screw that! I don't want to depend on that crap just to survive!
Nagakura was infuriated and stormed off.
Perhaps we can call it a good luck charm.
I'd call it a last resort.
Personally, I pray that it shall never come to any of us drinking this serum.
Inoue spoke softly as his fingers pinched the vial and held it close to his eyes.
I will borrow this. Well, I don't think I'll ever use it, but I'll hold on to it. Just in case, of course.
Both Saito and Harada grabbed the vial and they slipped it into their respective pockets.
Hijikata.
Up until now, Hijikata had crossed his arms and silently observed Sanen's speech.
We gotta take responsibility, huh? Well, you're onto something.
His eyes looked troubled, but he reached for the serum and slipped it into his pocket as well.
Well, I believe that does it for tonight. I just pray that my courtesy will not go to waste.
After Sanen finished, the captains all went and left the room, and Sanen turned toward me. Oh, not again.
Yukimura, I am certain you are aware of this. But do not let the word of tonight get out to any other warrior. Do I make myself clear?
Timidly, I nodded my head, and Sanen waited for a room. What could I do? The serum created by my father was now in the hands of the captains. I shuddered at the thought of them drinking it. It felt as if my heart was going to tear apart. Today is New Year's Eve, but the Fushimi magistrate was abuzz with panic and tension. War could erupt any day now. This seemed to put every warrior on edge as they eagerly awaited the order to march. Because of the tense uncertainty, I couldn't bring myself to sleep that night. And, as Harada had told me, this was almost a self-invited sense of anxiety because I didn't necessarily even have to be with the Shinsengumi. Compound that with the fact that the demons could come for me at any moment. My mind had no chance of resting. I got out of my bed and crept quietly to the common room to get some fresh air.
Yo, Chizuru, you're still up?
And we'll go ahead and end the video there, because I'm pretty sure that's the beginning of a new scene, and which will take some time, so we might as well start that in the next video. So I hope to see you there or in some of my other videos, and I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye bye everybody.